Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there. Welcome back.
Welcome back, guys. Beautiful day here, and we want to thank again all those that are supporting us over on Patreon, where we upload all our videos, and we just did one this morning that was a Patreon only exclusive, so go check it out. Okay, shelter in place order issued. Now, it's a chemical plant explosion. It's a petroleum processing plant explosion, according to some sources I've seen. This is in Shepherd, Texas. Where's Shepherd? As you can see here, it's northeast of Houston. So Houston, I feel, is really honestly, totally honest. In the war that's upcoming, this would be probably the place on the Gulf Coast that would make me the most nervous, other than some locations in Florida. But even so, I mean, Houston is, I believe it's our fourth largest city in the entire country, and it's a key port. Such a key port, such a diverse economy there, and obviously petroleum is one of its major products. And we were telling you guys that Cindy was getting visions of gasoline at like $10 to $15 a gallon.
Yeah, I was. That came around probably about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks. And gosh, I mean, it really stinks. It's not like I like to be right about these things. I just feel I'm in a position where I have this microphone, and if I see something, I do need to say something so people can get prepared. And then looking at this is definitely not good. The other things that I see going on is by them crippling the gas supply itself. I mean, medicine is going to go up, the ability for getting food, just driving to the store, something many of us take for granted right now. That's probably going to go bye-bye. And then think about all the places that have to have food shipped in from everywhere. I mean, this could be the start of like a crippling blow, like hitting us right in the knees, in a really tender spot. And that's what's at the same time, we always got to find, well, what's the positive in this? There's always positive. And this is where people start coming together. But I do want us to send our prayers out to everybody who's involved here, that no one gets hurt, that everyone is safe, and that this gets under control very soon.
So people in this area are being told to shelter in place, to turn off your air conditioning. It is about 80, I think, in the area, somewhere in the low 80s, which for a Texan is not bad. But the reality is, again, toxic smoke. And many people have commented about East Palestine. We've seen so many of these different explosions. It seems like things dropped off a little bit, but we know it's going to be turned on to a much higher level than we've ever seen because of all the sleeper cells mixed in with the migrants that have been coming over the border illegally for years, for decades, even for generations. This is a view from above of the area that was affected by this explosion. So you can imagine, as you're moving out to the countryside, because that's where this area is, it's going from Houston, going out into the countryside, just how disconcerting it would be to see this. Obviously toxic, everything that goes up must come down at some point in time, and then it tends to make its way into our lungs and into our bodies through water as well. This is again what we were talking about with how the system is so toxic. Again, fracking is everywhere. And fracking's injecting these toxic chemicals down into the ground. And, I every time I mention that, there's always one or two people that say, you don't know what you're talking about. You shouldn't speak about that because you don't know what you're talking about. And the reality is, I've looked into it deeply and read into it. And yes, absolutely, there's no way it's not making it into our water supply. In fact, there's been lawsuits where people have sued because it has made it into our water supply and caused cancer clusters. This is what it does, and this will obviously be something that will affect the residents in that area. It's just one among so many of these type of events we've seen. And I really don't think we've seen anything yet, because there literally are hundreds of thousands of sleeper cells in the country, if not higher numbers. So it's really just a matter of time when they are told to go in big numbers, and we could see all different sorts of events. But attacks on infrastructure, attacks on energy, that's an obvious one. Attacks on the food supply, attacks on the water supply too. Being, you don't want to think about it, but it's a reality. So many of us are just relying that when we turn that tap on, the water we know it's going to be loaded with fluoride and other stuff. Yes, we understand that. There's bacteria in there. There's cryptosporidium. There's so much stuff that needs to be filtered out before we ever drink from a tap. And I remember growing up at a time where a lot of people did drink from a tap, but you certainly don't do that nowadays. And not that we should have done it back then, but the reality is when they will probably put much more potent toxins in the water system. So, again, having redundancy in everything from food, water, air purification, basic first aid, again, candles, besides lights you could charge, maybe of solar variety, which we have kind of an assortment of all the above.
Yeah, we got some, really nice flashlights and flashlights that can charge in the sun, and some that take batteries that charge. We have a kind of a different way of doing all things, backups to the backup, because you don't know exactly what you might need. And we do have some family members that live there in Texas, and you guys know who you are, and we're definitely thinking of you, sending you good energy, positive energy. We hope everyone's okay. Just hang in there and anchor your light and do what you are meant to do, and that is help protect your area. Do that now.
Yeah, absolutely. Texas, Houston is such a big city, but then you have Dallas, Fort Worth, Metroplex. That's an immense area, densely populated. San Antonio, another one of the biggest cities in the country, 3 in the top 10 as far as population goes. Absolutely. Plus what Texas represents as far as a diversity and a strong economy, as far as, the energy sector, the military sector, a big bullseye painted on Texas, unfortunately. This is a statement from Hamas, basically talking about destroying 136 Israeli military vehicles. There's interesting reports coming out of massive destruction of Israeli forces, obviously massive loss of life on the Palestinian side, where now we're getting close, if not way past it. We have no idea of really how many people have died, but the numbers that they give us, is approaching 10 times the amount of people that were lost on the attacks on Israel. At the same time, there's a lot of info coming out, and many people have wondered, was this an FF? And I know you guys know what that means. There was an office in the trade centers that was totally empty when they went down that morning. And there is a connection to what we're talking about here. As we know, there were supposedly warnings given from Egypt 3 days ahead of time to Israel that this was going to happen. We see it all the time. It's something that is all about initiating in the next step. It's one step after another. There's a plan in place, and as we see, the blood red wine with the red drape behind Xi Jinping. Newsom went over to China, played a little basketball, ran over some kids in the meanwhile. And then now Xi is coming to San Francisco for a visit. And the American corporate elites are going to pay $2,000 a head to dine with Xi Jinping. And will his good friend Gavin be there? Again, what are they talking about? Well, they're coordinating. They're coordinating what's going to happen over the next 14 months. And again, when we wake up in 2025 And we find that we're all living in China, or maybe Russia, or maybe Mexico, or maybe we're, depending on where we are, we're part of a new European Union because the U.S. is going to be split up into multiple different regions. But absolutely, the Pacific Coast is going to be owned by this country, at least for outward appearances. We understand the Anunnaki have control of this, and the Draco have control of the Anunnaki. But this is coordination. This really is coordination. It's so obvious. Reports that Biden might come and pay him a visit. He'll reminisce about their hikes up, their hikes up Mount Everest together, as Biden was talking one time. Maybe they'll go take a hike to Shasta. Oh, I hope not. Wouldn't want to bring their energy over to beautiful Shasta. So South Africa has withdrawn all its diplomats from Israel in response to the genocide going on. Yeah, absolutely. South Africa, that's the S in BRICS. So, again, it's the splitting and dividing, and then what comes next is a new world order, which we've all heard about. We've had presidents tell us this for decades and decades and decades now. The other thing is people are starting to learn and understand how the system works, and we see every 100 years you get another plague. Well, even more than that, but big plagues. And I don't think we're done yet, and that's still part of their bigger plan. I do think they have stuff in store for more around 2026. Because again, my focus is already like shifting away from the wartime to the post-war time, because that's when we are really going to need to be self-sufficient. Because maybe you're somebody that's prepped and you got a year's worth of food, if you're lucky, maybe a little bit more that you really could legitimately survive on. This is still a long haul. This is why they have that 2030 date out there. And that's more what it is in my mind, is thinking that the finish line, we might not ever see the finish line in our lifetimes, truly, as there will be a split with the system, and there will be those that remove themselves from the system, and those that become completely absorbed body, mind, and spirit in the system. But I do think that we have a marathon going on, and we have to be looking to be able to get by without Big Brother at all for a long period of time. And, it is going to be challenging.
Indeed, and there is a pattern to all of this, and that's here to benefit us. I mean, at least we can look at the pattern and realize, okay, well, this is what we need to do, because that's what they're doing. Paying attention to that, focusing on that, adjusting yourself so that you're in a better position because you know the pattern. This is a good thing.
Yeah, and no, there's no coincidences. Look at this. This is an article from 1991. Radical climate changes may be the cause of the plague. Yeah, it's from NASA, of course. 1991. Radical climate change may be the cause of the plague. And we've talked about the Justinian plagues. Now, they say it probably arrived on trading ships from Egypt, 10,000 plus people dying in Constantinople. Again, think of Turkey's going to play a key part in this upcoming time. And this is talking about modern day Turkey. No room for bodies, corpses stacked in the streets. It greatly weakened the Byzantine Empire. Yeah, because again, we shift, and the Byzantine Empire, you could say it inherited a lot of what was the Roman Empire, and then we have the Ottoman Empire, which again is Islamic, that comes along after the Christian. Constantinople, Constantine, yeah, that's where that comes from. It's named after Constantine. Again, Nicene Creed, Council of Nicaea, giving us the first Bible. it's always been the same. Their playbook doesn't change. So, all you got to do is look back through the cycles and the Black Death. This is William Bramley's book, The Gods of Eden. You could read it in one night. It's not a tough read. Well, maybe two, if you wanted to spread it out a little bit. But it's a good read because, again, there's a lot of things that are getting wiped out as time goes on. And, boy, if you could find yourself some old books, that have some interesting maps in them and other little tidbits, good for you. Because one of the things that people did report seeing were strange ships in the sky, strange lights in the sky, strange cloud formations, and then people would start dropping like flies. And the 1561 celestial phenomenon over Nuremberg, so famously depicted here. I mean, it looks like Darth Vader's ship is there. And you see there's these weird clouds. There's things that look like plague pustules coming on down from the sky, and the sun's being blocked out. This is our modern day CHEM. Yes, it is. It's those trails. This is the same thing. Well, they didn't have airplanes back then. Well, we didn't have airplanes out in public view back then, but there's always been technology there. And that was just, not quite 500 years ago. Yet, the same program underway. As we've looked at this before, I think this is great. This is the Annunciation with Saint Emidus from 1486. And you see wings on the back of this being depicted as Archangel Gabriel. And here you have Mary, there's a dove. And I'll give you guys the links. I've shown this close up many times. From a UFO, you have beaming down the Holy Spirit into her crown chakra. You can't make these things up. But they're all over the place. Like this one we talked about so much. Here you have angels, depicting non-physical beings, with people going by in UFOs. This is from Kosovo in 1350. Clearly UFOs. They're ships, and there's people in the ships. These are angels. These are extraterrestrials. There is a difference. There really is a difference with the crucifixion of Christ painting. Again, you see it time and time again. It's all over. It's always been right in our faces, hidden in plain sight. It's always been for those that understand and can see. But again, it's through the religious lens that everything gets distorted. Oh wow, they blacked that one out there. Yeah, UFOs, aliens, being watched in the sky, just like the Greek gods. People looking up and knowing they're being watched. And there's that dove again. Because the gods bring and take away peace, as you see more UFO-ish things in the background. It's all part of that great reveal, and that is the definition of the apocalypse, a great reveal. This is a triangular UAP. Now, this is Somerville, Mass. This is one of ours. We know TR3Bs are so common. Chances are it probably does have humans on board, and there probably are reptilians with our particular military on board.
The thing that I really dislike about these ones is they can zap you, get close. And there's a couple ways. They have a directed thing on there. They can zap people. And also the aircraft itself can put off some very curious energy that's not good for us at all. But I mean, it's the good news is they tell us the playbook over and over and over. And do we want to continue to play the game? We have a choice now.
Absolutely. And we had aurora visible over Stonehenge with the geomagnetic storm that we've had. And there's bigger structures than Stonehenge, much more grand in our own Mississippi Valley here in the United States that people don't even realize. Far older than Stonehenge. And so, again, I this is one of my favorite Twitter accounts. I think that this is what we need more of. We need more baby ducks. It's just that simple.
Ducks can cure everything.
Yes, before we all go quackers.
Yeah, I like it. I like it.
Source bless. Namaste.
Namaste.